down or anything.
That's what I was going to say. It's not just that he was lucky he didn't get caught up in it, but I mean Johnson was right behind him.
Yeah. I mean, he basically just spun and went on with his business. I mean,
well, and
if there's what if they had both gone up? Johnson wins the race.
Yeah. Well, and I'm positive that, and this is no disrespect to Tony Stewart at all. I'm positive that when he started to spin him, I'm sure he stayed in the gas.
Oh, of course he did. Again, coming to the line, and I don't fault anybody for that. To me, it's just a byproduct of what they're doing, which is restrictor plate racing. You cannot give that inch, because you give an inch on a restrictor plate track, you give a mile. That's just the way it is, and it's unfortunate, really. I would say the good news is nobody got hurt, and it wasn't even or anywhere near as bad of a wreck. It didn't go into the stands this time, so that's a plus. It just tore up a lot of race cars, and probably is going to cost a lot of money to fix. But
yeah.
But hey, the people who went to the race, they got a memory now. They saw that.
I mean, because let's talk about the rest of the race. Let's be honest. Well,
what's there to talk about?
You didn't watch.
Well, I was all over the place. Yeah. I was cooking and I was shooting fireworks off.
It was not. It was.
I remember I kept walking in, looking at it, seeing they were all in a line, and said, "Okay, time to move on."
Yeah, it was.
And I'm looking at the statistics right here, and I see Denny Hamlin led a lot of laps too. Apparently.
Denny Hamlin was a very strong car. What I was going to say, a couple of interesting things. One that sticks out to me once again, because I follow him. Obviously, he's my favorite driver. But before he was caught up in the big wreck, Jeff Gordon was not. He did not. That's the worst performance I've seen from him on a restrictor plate track probably ever.
Jeff Gordon was the last car in the lead lap still too. Let's see. I'm going to look at his chart real quick just to see what it was like. What time was that wreck? Do you remember what lap? I'm guessing around
there.
Lap 60, because he's actually in the top 10 a lot. You see he's up as high as like 4th, it seems like 4th, 5th. As low as, oh yeah, and there was that early part of the race where he got shuffled way back.
He was not very strong. And then once he got in the wreck, he didn't get that much damage, but he was only running about 3/4 speed. He was lucky to stay in the lead lap.
Yeah. Also, I think I should point this out because I hadn't thought about this. Stewart's crew gave a champion's performance because they never
he got off pit road.
He
first
never lost a
every single
position.
time.
He never lost a position on pit road, and that's a huge factor. I mean, I was trying to explain to my father because he had actually missed the race, and he was like, Stewart, I mean, just never fell below like 3rd all night. I mean, even when he wasn't leading, he was still like 2nd, 3rd, maybe even like 4th. So there was a lot of let's not all this talk about Kyle Busch's wreck and all that. Let's not forget Stewart had a great run.
Oh, Denny Hamlin was the second best car. Stewart was the best car.
I'm trying to look, and we had some good finishes here for like guys like Montoya, and Montoya needed a top 10 finish,
and he bounced back. He was a lap down.
He got 2 lucky dogs.
Yeah, he was a lap down 2 separate times.
He actually got 2 of them in a row. It was actually he got them consecutively. Obviously Marcus Ambrose had another top 10. He's having a quietly decent season. I could see a future for him in Cup. Maybe the better team, but yes, I see a future for him. Regan Smith in the 78 car. Even if I hate that team, that was a good run. 12th place finish.
Oh, I didn't know they finished 12th. Wow.
Yeah. I hate that team because I think they're not legitimate, but yeah. Good for him though. He's a nice guy. He's been running the end of every race in his career in Sprint Cup racing. Regan
really?
Smith. Yeah. All 60 of them or whatever it was that he's run, but yes.
That's kind of a cool stat.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you can't classify them as a starting park then.
No, they haven't ever been. They just haven't been very. They have no sponsorship, and
team, isn't it?
Yeah, they don't have sponsorship, and they're based out of Denver, and yet they show up to the track every week, and it's just kind of like you're eventually going to go under in the long run. I wish you would quit taking up a spot for teams that are not going to go under and are trying to gain some competitive advantage.
A couple of guys that had decent runs that unfortunately didn't finish there. It was like somebody like Scott Speed. He finished 31st, but he was a solid top 20, which is a good run for him.
Yeah, I would say for him, you were at one point you were like, Scott Speed's running 16th. I'm just like, oh, that's sad that you're excited about that. He peaked around, looks like almost 10th at one point. But yeah, but remember we were talking about on Friday, we were talking about this. Speed, rookie, made a mistake, got in a wreck. Logano, he actually ran a clean race, but he still finished 19th. Nobody would run with him. That was my argument. Why rookies won't win the race, because people don't want to run with them, or if they do, they make mistakes.
Oh, and by the way, my favorite one, the guy I picked to win the race won.
Oh yeah, your favorite was. My favorite did not. My favorite.
Actually, your favorite wasn't even running that well when he got wrecked.
I disagree that he was not running that well in the sense that it was early and he really hadn't had a chance to make his move. And let me rephrase that. It was about halfway in the race when he got wrecked. But what I mean is, I think he was waiting. I don't think he was running as hard as he was going to yet.
Well,
you'll
never know.
That was my theory at the time, because you were all like, he's not running very well. I'm just like, be patient. He'll be there at the end. Of course, he wasn't there at the end, so go figure. No, I think he would have gotten up there in the long run. But hey, what are you gonna do?
I think sadly he's probably done.
You think? I've been saying it for weeks now. He's done. What makes you now think that he's done versus 2 weeks ago when he was like 19th in points and running like crap?
I still had faith.
What faith was there to have when he's running 20th every week?
I'm a Cubs and Indians fan. You have to have faith as long as you possibly can.
Yeah, and that'll get you what? How many championships?
Ouch.
Yeah. Ouch. I would say, don't you give me like that's a good reason, dude, because you're not running, because we're not doing well. I'm sorry, you're not doing well. You're not doing well. Just be realistic about it. Like the Chiefs next year are going to win 5 games. I'm realistic about it. But hey, that's much better than the 2 games that we won last year. I'm feeling positive.
Yeah. You know what's also interesting is if it's possible, I was thinking about this the other day, if it's possible for Jimmy Johnson to have a quiet race, he did. He really did.
Well, let's look at the chart, because that'll tell a story of where he was running most of the night. No, he was top 5 all night, looks like, except for this one period where he was like almost around 20th. Must have been after a pit stop under caution or something like that.
So, but I mean, it was just interesting watching the race. They barely talked about him. He was just he was always it was just a solid performance.
He had a car good enough to run the top 10, and he wasn't making any mistakes, but he did not have a car good enough to win the race. And that happens sometimes at these places. This was a race where your car made a difference, but you're not challenging for the win. It was actually more like a normal race in that sense.
Oh yeah, it definitely was.
And actually, then this actually had some huge ramifications for a race, because now Stewart's lead, for what it's worth, has ballooned to 180.
It's just interesting though, because the top 10 didn't even change.
Yeah. Well, and that it happens from time to time. Most of the top 10 actually ran well. It was everybody below 10th where it got interesting, because Montoya had a top 10. He moves up a spot. Kane was 15th because he finished right behind Busch, because he pushed Busch across the line. He gained a spot too. Martin had that wreck, and now he's like almost 70 behind, which isn't a lot, but it is. I mean, he'll probably have to chip away at that a little bit for the next couple weeks before he gets back in the top 12, if he's able to. But he can't have any more bad races now until September. I mean, he's got to be spot on. The good thing for that team is they run well enough, though.
Oh yeah. I'm not worried about Mark Martin.
I'm not either, but this has to be the wake-up call that we got to be on. You can't. I mean, bad luck they cannot allow any more bad luck. They have to overcome adversity and all that.
Saying that you can't. I mean, bad luck is that's why it's luck. You can't control it. Whether they allow it or not. Of course, they're not going to allow it. He had a decent car at Daytona. It's not his fault he got wrecked.
Well, I mean, but what I'm referring to as bad luck too is like a dropped lug nut, or something like that. I mean,
okay.
Or like a loose lug nut. That's kind of bad luck. I mean, look, Mark Martin go, he's had a good car, but he had a loose lug nut. Well, you can't let that happen now.
Yeah, no, I thought you were talking about you can't. You can't do anything about a blown engine or.
Yeah, you can't do anything about a blown engine. Can't do anything about somebody getting him, put him in the wall. He can make sure he doesn't put himself in the wall.
Yeah.
How
often does he do that?
No, he doesn't do it very often, but that's the point I'm making. They have to make sure that lug nuts are always tight. They get all the fuel in the car. There's no late race, like run out of gas or anything like that. They have to be conservatively aggressive.
Yep. That's a very good way to put it. I agree.
And I think, personally, I think Boyer and Burton, they're not out of it mathematically, and there's still a lot of races left. I don't think they're going to make it. Point blank.
I wonder how many years in a row Jeff Burton's made the chase. It's been a few.
06, 07, 08, 3.
Yeah.
That's it. But RCR has been so poor this year. It's just...
And Boyer started off
really decent. We both were really impressed with how he was running, and we thought he was going to be a contender, and the wheels have just fallen off. and that's a shame. But right now,